This video is brought to you by John Robson Guitar Tuition. If you enjoy the content, please consider supporting the channel by enrolling on a course, purchasing some guitar lessons or a t-shirt, or you can join my Patreon. Now, on with the show. Hello chaps, welcome once again to John Robson Guitar Tuition. As always, I do hope you're well. Now, if you're a kind of regular viewer of the stuff I put up on YouTube, then you'll have probably spotted a certain rhythm to the videos that I put out. Mondays, for example, it's always a solo analysis, and that's when I'll be putting tabs and jam tracks that are relevant to that solo up on my Patreon page. Let's just give that a quick plug. There it is there. So loads of tabs and jam tracks go up there. Tuesdays are, well, it's called Top 5 Tuesday for a reason, because I always run down some kind of top 5 list of whatever it is in whatever category. Wednesdays I deal with viewers' questions, and so once again, if you have any questions or queries of a guitar related nature, get in touch. You can see the website address there at the top of the screen, links in the description. Just use the email form there to give me a shout and let me know what's on your mind. And again, that's when there's always some tabs or something of that nature as a bonus for my wonderful Patreon supporters. So that's the Wednesday video. I don't tend to do videos on a Saturday unless it's a special occasion or there's some additional content I need to put out. Sunday videos are always me sort of demoing a guitar and and kind of or reviewing it or something like that. And once again, tabs and jam tracks available on Patreon. But the Thursday slot is something of a wild card. It tends to be when I just, if there's something that I need to kind of talk about or just feel the need to get out of my system that doesn't fit into any of the categories that I've mentioned, then it'll tend to be on a Thursday when I do that. For instance, I'll do an unboxing video on a Thursday. Usually that's when I'll usually put that in. Or if there's just something I want to talk about that's guitar or music related, an album that I just want to kind of big up and talk about why I love this particular album or whatever. That's when I'll put it out is on a Thursday. And as you've probably seen today, I thought it'd be a cool thing, because I don't think I've done this before. I'm going to talk about the things, the attributes, the characteristics that I look for when I'm choosing a guitar. So let's get into it, starting with...
It has to be playable.
Yeah, it has to be playable. It's, I guess, not so much of an issue these days with the advent of CNC tooling and all that kind of stuff. You're less likely to get somebody coming into work on a Monday morning with a hangover and putting the bridge in the wrong place on the guitar, a couple of millimetres out so that the scale length is wrong and it won't intonate, or the frets being in the wrong place or anything like that. But, it's something that was quite commonplace on guitars of yesteryear, not just cheap guitars as well. I've seen 70s Stratocasters where the top E string is hanging off the edge of the neck because the neck pocket hasn't been cut correctly and the neck is therefore misaligned. And I mean, it's fixable, but it's not ideal. As I said, today it's not so much of an issue. Even the cheapest sub £100 Glary or Paisley or Harley Benton guitar, it may not be playable straight out of the box, but with a bit of a setup, there will be usually a playable guitar in there. But yeah, that's got to be number one on the list. It has to be functional as a guitar. A pretty basic thing to have as a requirement, but it wasn't always something you could take for granted. Next.
Tuning stability.
Yeah, tuning stability. There's nothing quite so off-putting as hearing a guitar that's out of tune. Now, I'll hold my hands up here. I listen back to maybe one or two of my earlier videos and you think, yeah, I should have tuned before I played that thing there, shouldn't I? So, before you start shouting at me that, on a video I did in 2019, there was the top E string was a bit out of tune. Yeah, and it's something that, I've learned from that experience, and I like a guitar that has good tuning stability. Again, it's not something that you can take for granted. I had a particular guitar in here about 3 years ago, I guess it was, from one of the big name manufacturers. and it was a tremolo-equipped guitar, and it would just not stay in tune. It was just, you even breathed heavily in the direction of the tremolo arm and your G strings out or whatever. So tuning stability. This guitar here, this PRS S2 Standard 24, is absolutely bulletproof. Comes back pretty much perfectly every single time, and I value that in a guitar. This is I'm really enjoying this guitar at the moment. So tuning stability, it's just a big thing, really. If it's not going to be in tune, you can't really play it. It kind of goes into that it has to be playable thing as well, I guess. So let's see what's next.
Controls that work.
Controls that work, indeed. There's... Let me just point the camera down a little bit so you can so we're talking about controls, you might as well be able to see them. This guitar here has a master volume, master tone, and like single coil switching on the tone control. And with everything wound full up, we get this. And then single coil, middle setting there, volume control rolled off. I haven't gone anywhere near a pedal or any kind of channel switching on an amplifier or anything like that. That is just me working it from the guitar. That's what those controls are for, certainly the volume control. And if when you turn the volume control down, the whole sound turns to, mud. Sounds like somebody's thrown a duvet over the amp because you lose all your top end. That's just not a usable guitar for me. Why the controls there if all they do is make the sound unusable? It baffles me that there are still some guitars out there that have that attribute. So controls that work is a biggie for me. Next.
Transparent clean tones.
Yes, indeed, transparent clean tones. A large part of my job is teaching beginners, and when you're teaching beginners, you're naturally going to be kind of talking a lot about strumming clean chords, and many guitars, well, not many guitars, but there are a significant contingent of guitars that sound absolutely drop-dead gorgeous through a high-gain amp, but the pickups are so unbelievably hot that, even into the clean channel on a cleanest of clean amps, there's still always going to be a bit of fur around the edges, even by rolling the guitar's volume down, which, makes a guitar like that unusable for me. I need to be able to pick up any electric guitar and, be able to do this. That kind of thing. A nice, as I say, transparent, clean tone. If a guitar can't deliver that, then I'm not interested, I'm afraid. Next.
Fat lead tones.
Big, fat, overdriven lead tones, as well as the transparent clean tones from the last point. Absolutely need that. That's if I can't get a convincing classic rock lead guitar tone like you just heard there out of a guitar, then I ain't interested. It's one problem I've always had with Strats. So a standard Strat with a 3 single coil pickups, plenty of people do get great fat lead tones out of that. I'm not saying that a Strat is incapable of doing that kind of thing. I'm just saying that a Strat in my hands, I'm incapable of getting that, or very easily getting that kind of big fat lead guitar tone without replacing the bridge pickup with some kind of humbucker. That is, a big deal for me. If I go to the bridge pickup and with a kind of a gainy sort of sound, and it sounds thin and, very and kind of anemic, then I rapidly lose interest in that particular guitar. Doesn't seem to happen with me with single coil pickups on Telecasters for me, but it's just, Strats and other style guitars that have, or certain guitars that have a single coil in the bridge. If it fattens up nicely with a bit of gain, fair enough. If it handles gain well, great. But, if it doesn't, then no matter how nice the clean tones are, I ain't interested. Next.
Honesty.
Yes, indeed. I dislike dishonest guitars. I like honest guitars. What do I mean by that? Well, guitars which don't pretend to be something that they are not. The whole kind of phony aging thing, relicking, it's... I get why it's a thing, because, if you would love to dearly love to own a guitar that was made in 1959, but you don't have the wherewithal, who does, frankly, to buy one, then buy something that's a looky-likey. But I don't know, it just always seems a bit contrived and false to me. If you like the whole relicking thing, then each to their own. But it's not something that I appreciate. To me, it's no different from having a Gibson, a guitar that purports to be a Gibson, but isn't. I always wonder, when somebody's got a relict guitar and they're playing it at a gig, and every guitarist in the audience will kind of spot that it is, a modern guitar that's been mocked up to make it look like something much older. But that's us as guitarists. What happens if a punter, a member of the public, a civilian, as I sometimes call them, comes up to you and says, that looks like it's had a hard life? What are you going to do? Are you going to construct some sort of elaborate lie, or are you going to say, well, actually, no, I paid more to have it look all beaten up like this? It's... I just can't quite get there in terms of relict guitars, I'm afraid, because I just find them a little bit dishonest, and that's just me. Anyway, next.
Minimum 22 frets.
Yeah, I do like 22 frets, minimum 22 frets. This guitar here has 24, and it's effortless to get right up to the top of the second octave. Just, fantastic. The thing is, I don't really go up there that often, so I don't know why I'm so bothered about it. It is just something of a little idiosyncrasy that I have, I start getting up to the 17th or 19th frets, and I'm starting to think, oh, hello, yes, we're coming to the end of the runway here. So I don't often tend to go past there. But it's nice to know I can if I want to. So vintage Fenders with 21 frets, or guitars that have that sort of that number of frets, yeah, I just kind of think, well, yeah, that's probably not going to be for me. It just never really, I don't know, they just don't appeal to me. What can I tell you? I like 22 frets as a minimum, and that's as much as I can rationalise it. Next.
Modern fretboard radius.
Yeah, the other thing with kind of the vintage Fender thing with the 7 1/4 inch radius fretboard, it's not that you can't bend strings on it, because you can. I think that's a bit of a myth. I mean, David Gilmour, for example, the massive string bends that he pulls off in that Another Brick in the Wall solo. And yes, I know he played that on a Les Paul in the studio, but he still kind of does it live on a Strat, vintage fretboard radius Strat. So you can obviously bend strings on that. I just don't like the feel. I don't like that kind of overly cambered fretboard. It just feels weird to me, and always has done. And I've never really found a convincing reason why those early Fenders were so kind of curved on the fretboards. People say it makes playing chords easier, but well, if you look at an instrument which is primarily a chord focused instrument, that's the word I'm looking for, like a Martin Dreadnought, 12-inch fretboard radius. So that's kind of my sort of thing. I don't mind the modern Fender radius of 9.5 inches, but anything less than that, it's starting to feel a little bit kind of bizarre and odd to me. So yeah, let's just say a modern fretboard radius, and that's very much my cup of tea. Next,
Balances when seated.
balances when seated. I'm not holding this guitar up. I'm not putting any effort into my posture to keep the guitar sitting where it is. It just stays there of its own accord because it's designed correctly. My days of getting up on my hind legs in front of an audience are, I think, pretty much behind me now. This is where I earn my living, sitting blethering away like I am now into a webcam while I'm sat down and playing the guitar. So that's, on the rare occasions when I might kind of play standing up. I've still got a strap on this guitar, actually. I don't know why I never use it. On the rare occasions I may stand up. It doesn't feel weird, but I do feel more comfortable playing sat down because I've been doing it this way for eons now. So a guitar that balances well when playing seated. The obvious example here is a flying V. You've got to do that weird thing where you kind of have it sort of propped between your legs and everything. That just feels uncomfortable for me, and you're having to put physical effort into holding the guitar in the position where you need it to be able to play it, and that's kind of not my job, really. The guitar should just present itself in a comfortable and natural manner, and these things can get on with the business of creating the music and not having to just hold it in place. So a guitar that balances well when seated, that matters much more to me than the weight of a guitar. A lot of people do, and I think it's kind of quite a recent thing. I don't remember people having conversations 20 years ago about getting hung up on how much a guitar weighed. It just weighed as much as the guitar. It felt like the weight of an electric guitar, but it is something that has become increasingly, I think, as consumers have got more discerning, perhaps. But the weight thing doesn't really matter to me. I'd rather have a heavy guitar that balances well than a lightweight guitar that doesn't. So there you go. And this one certainly does fit the bill. Let's see what the last thing on the list is.
Understated Looks.
Yeah, Understated Looks. I'm not into flashy, blingy, kind of over-the-top looking guitars. It took me ages to find a PRS that I really bonded with. In terms, well, they all play really, really well, don't they? I don't think I've ever heard anybody say that they had a PRS that was horrible to play or sounded awful. But just the general kind of core PRS aesthetic with the birds and the kind of the kind of the finishes. Not so much the kind of book-matched maple kind of thing, but some of the kind of purple and green and luminescent finishes they put over it. It's just all a little bit too, as I often say, a little bit too footballers' wives, a little bit too Liberace. Perhaps there's an element of it. It's giving me a guitar that looks like that. It's like putting a Rolex on a chimp. It's just not my kind of thing. I much prefer something that just looks understated and classy even. I know a lot of people, its beauty is in the eye of the beholder, but I think this is a much nicer looking guitar than something that's all dripping in mother of gold, pearl, kind of whatever. This just looks, kind of quietly businesslike and classy, and that is very much what I like in the aesthetics of a guitar. How much the aesthetics of a guitar would kind of put me off something that ticked all the other boxes is debatable. I think that would vary from guitar to guitar. But those are the 10 things that I look for in a guitar. Let me know what you think of my choices. Let me know if you think that I'm talking complete cobblers here. There's probably a few people have already typed that in the comments. And let me know what your deal breakers or deal makers are when it comes to you choosing an electric guitar. But that is very much the video for today, folks. Hope you've found it entertaining and useful in some small way, and if that's the case, please hit the subscribe button and the notification bell if you haven't already done so. And why not drop me a like as well while you're at it. Don't forget the live stream every Friday, 5 p.m. UK time. We drink beer and talk about music and guitars and all manner of other stuff. It's a great way to kick off the weekend, and I'd love to see you there if you can make it. But for now, I'll bid you all a good day and say thank you so much for watching. Thank you for your time. Look after yourselves, folks. Stay well, stay safe, and above all, stay sane. Bye for now.